Hello there, and welcome to day 21 of Unveiling the Civility Advent Calendar with Buki Odushote. Thank you once again for joining, for sharing, for your likes and your comments. As I often say, please do keep them coming. I really appreciate it. And of course, if you have any questions for me, pop them in the comment box and I will be back to you. All right, so for the benefit of those who are watching this for the very first time, I did say when I started this that I was going to be taking the nuggets from a book by Dr. P.M. Funny called Choosing Civility. All right, so we're on day 21 of the 25 rules of considerate conduct and is the 21st rule. So what does the 21st rule have to say? Think twice before asking for favors. Think twice before asking for favors. I'm sure you would wonder, is there anything wrong with asking for favors? Well, let us find out what Mr. Funny or Dr. Funny has to say about favors and asking for favors. But before we go into what he has to say to us, I'm going to read this quote by Gallant, which says, "Don't ask for favors too casually or too often. Recognize the amount of effort you're requesting. If possible, accomplish your task in some other way. Be clearly grateful for a favor done. Even if the task appeared easy for the person, give full credit. Then the person may be keeping the difficulties or unpleasantness of the efforts from you." So sometimes people may seem to not say anything about our favors, or it just looks really easy for them to carry it out, and we assume, well, it was easy anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But there are times that people don't let us know. I suppose that particular quote is very clear in itself. But Dr. Funny has a few things to say about asking for favors here, and I'm sure a few of it would make you think, hopefully next time when you're asking people for favors. Now he's saying here that I'm not asking you, or I'm not implying for you not to ask for favors, but he says you've got to think whether or not you should be asking for the favors in the first place. And something he suggested was, as much as possible, try every way possible to see if you can fulfill the mission yourself. Then if you know that you can't do it yourself and there are no other ways to get this done, then it's okay to go ahead. And it mentioned as well, not too often, so that it doesn't look like you're taking that friend for granted. And he said something quite important as well. He mentioned that friendship is not meant to be developed because you want them to do favors for you. You should be friends with someone first because you love them and you appreciate them and you want to be their friends. And favors should be secondary, not the primary reason for friendship. Okay, so he also said there are two types of favors. So the first favor is one that involves just you and the grantor. So whoever is granting you the favor and yourself are the only people involved in this kind of favor. That's the first type. Now the second type of favor, he said, is one that doesn't just involve, I beg your pardon, doesn't just involve the two of you, that's you asking for the favor and the grantor of the favor, but also other parties can be impacted because of the favor you're asking. So the first one, a very good example is, if I said to my husband, "Bali, can you get me a glass of water on your way to the kitchen?" And of course he hands me the glass of water. I just asked for a favor that just involves both of us. And of course, because he's done that for me, the right thing to do is to say thank you for the favor. Even though it might seem so simple, you still need to realize that they've had to do something for you which was not part of their plan before, and for them acknowledging and honoring your request, then of course you have to tell them thank you. Now, the second type of favor is explained is, for instance, I'm asking him for a favor. Now he's on the way out, and I'm saying to him, can you kindly get me something that could impact not just, well, it's not even impacting me, but it's going to impact other people. It hasn't impacted me because I need it and I'm going to get that thing anyway. So a very good example he put here in the book is him asking his wife a favor to get a particular journal from the library, which ordinarily should not leave the library because of other users. And he's going to have that journal for the weekend. Now, you've just asked a favor that if he does do that for you, then you're going to impact others because somebody might just walk into that library who needs that journal and they can't lay hold of it because you've had to keep the journal for a couple of days with you. That, of course, in itself is not considerate and it's unfair and it has an impact on others. So this sort of favors is said, do not ask people, because what you're doing, one, is asking your friend to break the rule. So if you're finding yourself, because you're in a desperate situation, you're asking your friend to break the rule for you, then what he said here is, you're not a friend in the first place, because your friend would not ask you to do something that would affect your integrity. So it said here that we need to be very conscious of what sort of favors we're asking. And of course, we have to think about asking favors before we go ahead asking the favors. How does it impact the person you're asking the favor? Because you sometimes tie people's hands and force them to do things. In fact, the way he's explained it here, it says asking a favor is often an imposition. So it's you saying to someone or imposing yourself on them to do something for you. So it's mentioned that you need to be very careful when you're asking favors. And then another very, very, very key thing is said is when you're asking favors, ensure that it's something you can reciprocate. Because sometimes people are asking you a favor that they cannot do for you themselves, but they're expecting that because you're your friends, then you should be able to honor that. So he said, don't do that. It's not fair. And then finally, he gave us a few pointers as to what you need to ask yourself before asking for a favor. And some of it I've got here. One, do I need to ask for the favor, or am I just looking for the shortcut to get the work done? Secondly, is what I'm asking ethical or legal? Another one, is it fair and reasonable to ask this person that favor? Or would it be comfortable granting the favor? Another thing you need to ask yourself, who else other than me is going to be affected by the favor you're asking? And another one is, will it be comfortable being beholden to this person? So you've got to think. All these things are things you need to ask yourself before you go ahead asking people for favors. And finally, he said, if I am granted the favor, how is it going to affect my relationship with the person? And if I'm denied the favor, how is that going to affect my relationship with the person? So these are things we need to think about. And it's mentioned as much as possible. It's not just about you. So when you're asking for a favor, you've got to see beyond yourself. I hope you've been able to get a few nuggets here. And of course, a way of sharing with your friends as well. If you think you need to address a bit of this in your relationships, then why not go ahead and share with friends, people you think this will bless. And I see you again tomorrow. You have a wonderful night rest. Be good. And of course, treat your relationship with so much respect and consideration. Have a wonderful night rest. It's your friend again, Buki Odushate. Good night.